The Senate will be in order. The prayer this morning is being offered by the Reverend Mark Rustin of North Deering Congregational Church and Hiram Community Church.
Mr. President, members of the Senate, as a Maine native, I consider being born in this community, which we call Maine, a foundational blessing of my life. Growing and living in the midst of this culture taught me the value of self-reliance and personal achievement, held in tension with an overarching compassion for those less fortunate. Mainers intuitively recognize the value of every life as part of a whole. Thank you for your willingness to bring your many gifts to bear on the task of governing this wonderful state. Having served as a pastor for 30 years, I appreciate that some days your work must feel like herding cats. I offer this prayer as sustenance for you in your crucial endeavors. Let us pray. Gracious God, we come before you in this gathering to seek your blessing upon the members of this body. We have called them from their homes to represent us here in this important work. May your spirit within each be quickened and provide the insight and wisdom to fulfill their tasks. Grant them peace in times of challenge and the courage to make the decisions they need to make on our behalf. Grant each senator a sense of purpose befitting the office they hold and the trust inherent therein. At the end of this day, may they have a sense of accomplishment that comes from knowing they have kept faith with the people of Maine and with you. We pray all these things in your holy name. Amen.
The Pledge of Allegiance will be led by the Senator from Androscoggin, Senator Snowmellow.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The reading of the Journal of Thursday, January 5th, 2012. The Chair understands the Senator from York, Senator Courtney, moves the reading of the Journal be dispensed with and ordered placed on file. The Chair is very pleased to recognize in the rear of the chamber from the Gold Leaf Institute at the University of Maine at Farmington, Jim Wallstrom, Susan Wallstrom, Isabel Foss, Jack Hogan, Darlene Hogan, and Linda Gramlich. They are the guests of the Senator from Franklin, Senator Saviello. Will they please rise and accept the greetings of the Maine Senate? House papers not acted upon, and if accompanied by a bill or resolve, first reading of such bill or resolve.
Item 1-1, bill and act to require carbon monoxide detectors.
Senator from Androscoggin, Senator Mason moves the reading of
facilities.
items 1-1 and 1-2 be dispensed with, and these matters referred to the Committee on Criminal Justice and Public Safety in concurrence. Is this the pleasure of the Senate? Chair understands Senator from Hancock, Senator Langley moves the reading of item 1-3 be dispensed with, and this matter be referred to the Committee on Education and Cultural Affairs in concurrence. Is this the pleasure of the Senate?
Item 1-4, pursuant to statute.
Chair understands Senator from Kennebec,
organization.
Senator McCormick moves the reading of item 1-4 be dispensed with, the report be accepted in concurrence, and the resolve be referred to the Committee on Health and Human Services in concurrence. Is this the pleasure of the Senate?
Item 1-5, expression of
Chair
legislative
understands Senator from
sentiment.
York, Senator Courtney moves the reading of items 1-5 and 1-6 be dispensed with, and these joint orders be passed in concurrence. Is this the pleasure of the Senate?
Item 1-7, joint resolution
Chair
in memoriam.
understands Senator from
Whereas
Cumberland,
the
Senator
legislature-
Alfond moves the reading of item 1-7 be dispensed with, and this joint resolution be adopted in concurrence. Is this the pleasure of the Senate? Messages and documents from the executive, heads of departments, and others. The Chair
Item 2-.
understands the Senator from Penobscot, Senator Plowman, moves the reading of items 2-1 and 2-2 be dispensed with, and these communications be ordered, placed on file. Is this the pleasure of the Senate?
Item 2-3, the following communication, SC 649.
Chair understands the Senator from Cumberland, Senator Alfond, moves further reading of item 2-3 be dispensed with and this communication be ordered placed on file. Is this the pleasure of the Senate? The question now before the Senate is, shall this bill become a law, notwithstanding the objections of the governor? According to the Constitution of the State of Maine, a 2/3 vote of the members present and voting is necessary to override the objections of the governor. The chair recognizes the senator from Cumberland, Senator Grzowski.
Thank you, Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate. I stand today to defend this bill that I had sponsored, LD 205. It was brought to me by my constituents, and they had showed me where there was a terrible inequity between their nonprofit status in buying material to build sound sets and stages and things in performing arts, where it wasn't that way against other nonprofits. But they really talked to me about trying to stabilize their jobs that they had created. When the International Music Festival explained to me that they would be able to take that savings and turn part-time jobs into full-time jobs, they got my attention. When the Maine State Music Theater told me that they were looking to employ more people, and that's the way they were going to do it, I looked at this as a job stabilization bill, a job creation bill, as much as anything else. And I also saw it as a way of leveling a playing field, where certain nonprofits were getting the benefit. These nonprofits weren't getting the benefit. It wasn't about the nonprofits. It was about who was creating jobs. And anytime I had the opportunity in my district to try and create jobs, everybody here knows that I go for that. Last year we took and created an exemption for airplane manufacturing and overhaul and rebuilding on the sales tax exemption, which within 24 hours of the enactment of that bill, there was a press release out of Portland that they were looking for 50 new employees at the jetport to do those kind of jobs. At the same time, we know that other aviation facilities around the state, Oxford Aviation being one, is bringing people home that were laid off from their jobs over the last several years, are now being brought home to get those jobs because of that bill. And I looked at this bill in a similar way. It was about jobs, leveling the playing field, and trying to stabilize a jobs market that we all have to understand. The biggest attraction to Maine, tourism, the biggest tourist attraction in the state of Maine are some of these performing arts studios where people come up. I find them all throughout my communities, all four of my communities, spending money on meals, before the performances, after the performances. I find them coming to the performances, and there's tens of millions of dollars that are spent on those activities. So that's what this bill was intended to do. That's why I think we had the support in the House and Senate on those bills, on that bill. And unfortunately, the second floor didn't see it quite the way the third floor did. So thank you very much. I hope that people will follow my light on this, and it will be green.
Chair recognizes the senator from Saginaw, Senator Goodall.
Thank you, Mr. President, men and women of the Senate. I rise today to join with my seatmate and good colleague, Senator from Cumberland, urging you to override this veto. And the reason I do that is I will always want to take the opportunity to point out when we're taking an action that's counter to revitalizing our downtowns and small businesses on Main Street. If you go to many of our communities across the state, these performing arts centers are economic engines. We all have seen droves of people going into them and leaving them, and often they're coming or going to a small business, to a restaurant, to a shop, to a pub. And I want you to think about that when you're voting today. It's very crucial that everything we do, we think about the economic consequence. This one has a long-term economic consequence because it does not allow these performing arts, theaters, and organizations to flourish. Thank you, Mr. President.
The question now before the Senate is, shall this bill become a law notwithstanding the objections of the governor? According to the Constitution of the State of Maine, a 2/3 vote of the members present and voting is necessary to override the objections of the governor. The vote will be taken by the yeas and nays. The chair recognizes the senator from Penobscot, Senator Snyder.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I'd like to pose a question through the chair.
The senator may proceed.
What was the vote on this? Was there an actual vote taken, and what was that?
The senator has posed a question through the chair to anyone who may wish to respond. The question now before the Senate is, shall this bill become a law, notwithstanding the objections of the governor? According to the Constitution of the State of Maine, a two-thirds vote of the members present and voting is necessary to override the objections of the governor. The chair recognizes the senator from Cumberland, Senator Alphon.
Mr. President, I request that the Secretary of the Senate read the report from the committee, please.
Senator from Cumberland, Senator Alphon, has requested the Secretary read the report from the committee.
The Committee on Taxation, to which was referred the following, an act to provide a sales tax exemption to incorporated nonprofit performing arts organizations, has had the same under consideration and asked leave to report the same. Ought to pass as amended by Committee Amendment A, filing number S90. Senator Trahan, Senator Hastings of Oxford, Senator Woodbury of Cumberland, Representative Knight of Livermore Falls, Representative Berry of Bowdenham, Representative Bickford of Auburn, Representative Bryant of Windham, Representative Flemings of Bar Harbor, Representative Harmon of Palermo, Representative Pylon of Saco. Those asking leave to report the same ought not to pass. Representative Bennett of Kennebunk, Representative Burns of Alfred, Representative Waterhouse of Bridgeton.
The question now before the Senate is, shall this bill become a law notwithstanding the objections of the governor? According to the Constitution of the State of Maine, a two-thirds vote of the members present and voting is necessary to override the objections of the governor. The vote will be taken by the yeas and the nays. The sergeant-at-arms will secure the chamber. A vote of yes will be in favor of overriding the governor's veto. A vote of no will be in favor of sustaining the veto. Is the Senate ready for the question? The Secretary will open the vote. Have all now voted? The chair will close the vote and the Secretary will run the total. 19 having voted in the affirmative, 15 in the negative, and 19 not being more than two-thirds of the members present, the veto is sustained. The chair understands. Senator from York, Senator Courtney moves further reading of item 2-4 be dispensed with and this communication be ordered placed on file. Is this the pleasure of the Senate? The question now before the Senate is, shall this bill become a law, notwithstanding the objections of the governor? According to the Constitution of the State of Maine, a two-thirds vote of the members present and voting is necessary to override the objections of the governor. The vote will be taken by the yeas and the nays. The sergeant-at-arms will secure the chamber. A vote of yes will be in favor. The chair recognizes Senator from Aroostook, Senator Jackson.
Thank you, President Ray and members of the Senate. I wanted to get up for a moment to speak on this bill, obviously, and just give you a little bit of history. I introduced this bill last session in front of the Taxation Committee. It had a divided report. When it got onto the floors, there was a number of people that worked on amending it to change it to give some small amount of help to small business logging contractors in the state of Maine. And with work of taxation committee members and appropriations committee members, I certainly want to thank Senator Rosen, Senator Hill, and Senator Cates for their efforts and appropriations to find what money there was in tight times to give what be it a small amount of help to Maine's small logging contractors. And this bill, after being amended, did pass both bodies by a significant number, which I think was a good thing. And it was on par with, I think, stuff that we'd done for fishing companies and windjammers, parts on windjammers. It was a small exemption to give some help to Maine logging companies. And after we left here for a short amount of time, I was notified that the bill was being held without any real understanding of why or any response from the second floor of why. We came back for bath salts and congressional redistricting. No one spoke to me about anything that could be done or anything that might be done to change or even if there was an issue with it. And then we left here, and the season is gone on. I myself left the company I was working for Thursday night at 8:30, packed my stuff out of the camp I was staying in, brought it all out, and a lot of it I actually hauled down here for the camp I'm staying in down here. And Thursday, I was made aware that the bill was vetoed without, again, any reason, any response, or anything like that. And it seems somewhat especially cruel to wait all that time to veto something or even try and work on something that could have been done way back at the beginning of the session. We had conversations or an ongoing issue going on all session or all summer about members of the second floor coming to Aroostook County to talk about logging issues. The governor was there for Capital for a Day event where he made reference to that we needed more foreign workers in the state of Maine because there wasn't enough American loggers to do the work. I requested numerous times for him to come back to Aroostook County and just meet with logging contractors and loggers in Maine to hear some of their issues. And I'm sure this bill might have been one of the things he might have heard about if he'd have been willing to come back to Aroostook County. And it never happened. And now this letter, we're led to believe that something else is going to happen to help logging contractors. We're going to be the same or it's going to be on par with farmers. Well, farmers have a whole set of issues that they need to help with that loggers don't. And while I certainly support doing everything we can for farmers, I don't understand how the second floor is going to come up with a plan when they haven't taken the opportunity to talk to logging contractors in northern Maine, central Maine. So it seems odd that's the excuse that there is, and that this bill is inconsequential, won't do anything to help. Well, I think it was something at least, and like I said, in these tight times, we couldn't expect appropriations to come up with everything that they needed, but it's at least something. It's something to say, look, we know you're having a hard time. We know that fuel costs are 4 and 5 times higher than what they were just 10 years ago, and we're trying to do something. It's at least a hand in this time. I know that the truckers throughout Maine, most of them, it costs $800-900 to fill their tank just one time. And, this $1,000 credit would have filled their tank, one time, and would have been something, I think. It would have at least had something on the books, and maybe somewhere along the line when times are better, it could have been increased. But it seems sad that this is what has been chosen to do here. You know, I'm conflicted with trying to show respect for the office of the governor, but my continued feeling that the logging companies in the state of Maine and the constituents of my district are seeing no respect from the office of the governor. Not to mention whatever they may think of me, which is really inconsequential, but unfortunately I'm the one that brings these issues forth because I have so many people in my district that rely on it. So I don't expect that this is going to get over in, but I would ask that anyone that doesn't feel like they can vote for overriding this bill, would you please make an effort to ask the second floor if they would come to Northern Maine and meet with these people firsthand so that he could at least understand what the issues are that are affecting these people? Because Lord knows I've tried as much as I can to where it seems like, well, obviously it's fallen on deaf ears, but I do not understand how such a bill that would help to some regard, that was passed with good numbers in this body, was funded by Appropriations Committee that had trouble with funding a host of things, is going to get thrown away for reasons that I'll never understand. But at least, like I said, it would be something if he could come and meet with some of these people, because a couple of weeks ago, whenever he came up to speak about the supplemental budget, there was numerous questions from that audience about logging issues that happened after the budget, and people want to understand why it is that he continually seems to be that he's against that profession. So I would ask you, if nothing else, to vote to override this, but when you're not able to do that, please send a letter down to the governor's office asking them to do something to help the logging profession. Thank you.
Chair recognizes the Senator from Somerset, Senator Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, my friend from Aroostook County is right. We do need to do something to help the logging industry in the state of Maine. Our loggers are being squeezed more every day. And yet, fiber log costs are higher in Maine than they are almost anywhere else in the nation. But to think that one day's fuel is going to help these people stay in business is wrong. They need some serious help. This is not serious help. I'm afraid that if we allow this veto not to take effect, we will leave here thinking we've done something when in fact we've done nothing. And these people need some real help, and we need to think about it. And Senator Jackson is right. These guys are being squeezed harder and harder. Lots of them have their houses on the line, and they'll lose everything they own if something isn't done. But this doesn't do it. So I'm going to vote to sustain the veto, and I'm going to work with the senator from Aroostook to make a real difference, because this isn't going to make a difference. And if we vote for this and think we've done something, we'll be wrong. Thank you.
The question now before the Senate is, shall this bill become a law? The Chair recognizes the Senator from Oxford, Senator Patrick.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate. I thank my colleague from Aroostook County for laying out what I believe was a great reason for overturning this veto. I do think $1,000 will make a difference. I actually have gone to Aroostook County many times and have met loggers. I've met hunters, fishermen, guides, and Aroostook County is extremely in rough shape. This is an act to provide an income tax credit for logging companies that hire Maine residents. If we do anything to help hire a Maine resident, someone that I've seen that are lean, that are mean, they're not fat, they're not lazy, They are people that want to go to work, but because of a myriad reasons, they cannot get hired because of the disadvantages that they have against them. Not overturning this veto, to me, although it is only a little bit, says an awful lot of how we feel about Maine workers, Maine residents. And the good senator from Somerset County is right. They are up against it, Maine loggers. Statistically, I remember a 165% increase to Maine landowners and a minus 35% decrease to wood harvesters. That's a 200% disparity. And that's throughout the whole state of Maine. But although this has statewide ramifications, what is this? This is more of a border bill. What have we done over the years for the people along the coast, for the Kittery-Portsmouth shipyard, for the cost of liquor along the state of Maine border with New Hampshire? I don't know how many times I've heard my colleague get up and speak about the hiring of Maine workers. It's unconscionable to think that those people who believe Maine workers don't deserve to be hired because they don't work hard is totally ludicrous. As I know myself, I've had opportunities to get hired out of state, and they're dying to get people from Maine because of our work ethics. The good senator from Somerset's right. This is only a little bit. But we've got to start somewhere, and if we keep turning a blind eye to working Maine loggers, what have we gained? We've got a hopeless bunch of people who someday may go the way of the shoe shops and the tanneries and the canneries in the state of Maine. Do we want that? I don't think so. So what I would ask you to vote to override this veto. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
The question now before the Senate is, shall this bill become a law notwithstanding the objections to the governor? According to the Constitution of the state of Maine, a two-thirds vote of the members present and voting is necessary to override the objections of the governor. The vote will be taken by the yeas and nays. The sergeant-at-arms will secure the chamber. A vote of yes will be in favor of overriding the governor's veto. A vote of no will be in favor of sustaining it. Is the Senate ready for the question? The Secretary will open the vote. You've all now voted. Chair will close the vote. Secretary will run the total. 14 senators having voted in the affirmative and 20 in the negative, 14 not being more than two-thirds of the members present. The veto is sustained.
Item 2-5, the following
Chair
communication.
understands that the senator from Penobscot, Senator Plowman, moves further reading of item 2-5 be dispensed with, and this communication be ordered placed on file. Is this the pleasure of the Senate? The question now before the Senate is, shall this bill become a law? The Chair recognizes the Senator from Cumberland, Senator Bartlett.
Thank you, Mr. President. I urge you to override the veto by the Chief Executive for two principal reasons. One, this legislation is good public policy. And two, because the arguments that have been put forward in the veto statement simply don't seem to apply to the bill in its final form. The bill is designed to give government entities at all levels one additional tool to use to lower their energy costs in their public buildings. It also provides access to financing to make it a reality. Already under existing law, we require the Bureau of General Services, an executive branch agency, to develop rules around energy efficiency in the construction of buildings. This legislation simply asks that those rules include load management as one additional option. Load management is designed to move the time of usage of your energy in ways that can save you money, either because you have a time of use contract or because you can get paid actually by ISO New England for demand response by affecting your usage at peak periods. It's a good way to construct public buildings, to make sure you're using energy when it is the cheapest. The legislation passed with unanimous support in committee and with the unanimous support of both chambers. In this veto statement, the Chief Executive raises two major issues of concern, and I did provide a written statement on your desk, and I hope you have a chance to review that. First, there's criticism of the fact that routine technical rules are going to be made by a quasi-independent agency. The letter goes on to criticize a delegation of authority to agencies outside the oversight of elected officials and refers to the Efficiency Maine Trust. While it is true that the Efficiency Maine Trust is an independent agency, the final legislation as we passed it does not delegate any rulemaking authority to them. They're not the ones crafting rules. Under existing law, the Bureau of General Services crafts the rules with the consultation of the Public Utilities Commission, another independent agency. The reason they're asked to consult the Public Utilities Commission is because when the original law was drafted, all efficiency programs resided with the Public Utilities Commission. That's no longer the case. We made one simple change, which was really a housekeeping change, to say that, look, when you're drafting these rules, we still want you to consult with the efficiency experts, but they've moved from the PUC over to the Efficiency Maine Trust. So all this legislation does is ask that the Bureau of General Services consult with the appropriate independent agency with respect to efficiency. But the Efficiency Maine Trust or any other independent agency is given no independent rulemaking authority under this legislation. And the Bureau of General Services is, of course, an executive branch agency with full oversight by the governor and the legislature. The second criticism seems to be that there may be some kind of a mandate that would force units of government, from municipalities or otherwise, to undertake expensive load management development when it's not cost effective. In fact, this legislation does not do that. Just as with energy efficiency, it requires that it be considered in the design process so that government entities are aware of what options are available to them if they so choose. If they don't want to use load management, even if it's cost effective, they don't have to. Just as they don't have to adopt energy efficiency measures, even if they're cost effective. I always felt that this approach was very conservative. It simply says we are going to put forward the tools and the information in front of the decision makers at our municipal level, our school districts, our counties, and the state, and let them make the decision with the best information possible. And we also make sure that they have access to the financing tools that are needed to implement these measures. So they are given information and the access to capital. We already do it with respect to energy efficiency. This simply expands its load management. It is good policy, and I urge you to override the veto. Thank you.
Chair recognizes the senator from Waldo, Senator Thibodeau.
And thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, I want to commend the bill's sponsor for his defense of something that he feels passionately about. I'm sure that he believes that it's a very important bill that he sponsored. I also want to suggest to you that our predecessors that set up the system of government for which we operate under really had some foresight. They understood that there should be some checks and balances in place, and I actually want to commend the administration for exercising them checks and balances. They actually picked up on something that we didn't pick up on in committee. I'm chair of the committee for which this passed through, and that is the idea that that there's mandates involved. You know, each one of us represents a portion of the state of Maine, and I'll be willing to bet that each one of us has superintendents of schools that are part of that. And I know myself, I represent 3 different school districts, and to a person, each one of these school district superintendents came to me at one point or another and suggested, Senator Thibodeau, you know, we're working with very limited resources, and we're doing the best we can to stretch them resources as far as we can. But one of the things that you continue to do that hurts us is you pass along unfunded mandates. You continually, as a body, add to this load that we are expected to operate under. Now, I'm not suggesting that this is a huge load, but I will suggest to you that this is still another one of their mandates. And the message behind that is, we listened to you, but we didn't hear you. So I applaud the administration for pointing out that indeed this is a mandate that may, quite frankly, isn't necessary. There is nothing in the current law that prohibits anybody that is designing for a new school to consider load management. Nothing in the law that prohibits that. This is simply a mandate that says they must. So again, I would encourage you to not override the veto and sustain it. I think that the systems work very well, and that indeed that is an unfunded mandate. Thank you.
The question now before the Senate is, shall this bill become a law notwithstanding the objections of the governor? According to the Constitution of the State of Maine, a two-thirds vote of the members present and voting is necessary to override the objections of the governor. The vote will be taken by the yeas and nays. The Sergeant-at-Arms will secure the chamber. A vote of yes will be in favor of overriding the governor's veto. A vote of no will be in favor of sustaining it. Is the Senate ready for the question? The Secretary will open the vote. Have all now voted? The Secretary will close the vote and run the total. 15 senators having voted in the affirmative and 19 in the negative, and 15 not being more than two-thirds of the members present, the veto is sustained. The Chair is very pleased to recognize in the rear of the chamber the Doctor of the Day, Robert John Struba, M.D., M.Ph., Ph.D., from Belfast. Dr. Struba practices child psychiatry at his private practice in Belfast and has served on the Public Health and Legislative Committees of the Maine Medical Association. Dr. Struba is the guest today of the Senator from Waldo, Senator Thibodeau. Will Dr. Struba please step forward to accept the greetings of the Maine Senate? The Chair is also very pleased to recognize in the rear of the chamber Krista Moulton of Athens, who is beginning an internship with the Senate Majority Office. She is the guest of the Senator from Androscoggin, Senator Snow Mello, and the Senator from Somerset, Senator Thomas. Would Krista please rise and accept the greetings of the Maine Senate? The reception and reference of petitions and such other papers as require action by a committee. Chair recognizes the Senator from Aroostook, Senator Sherman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move the reading of items 3-1 be dispensed with. This matter be referred to the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry and sent down for concurrence.
The Senator from Aroostook, Senator Sherman, moves the reading of item 3-1 be dispensed with. This matter be referred to the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry and sent down for concurrence. Is this the pleasure of the Senate? It's a vote. Chair recognizes the Senator from Androscoggin, Senator Mason.
That the reading of items 3-2 through 3-4 be dispensed with, and these matters be referred to the Committee on Criminal Justice and Public Safety and sent down for concurrence.
Senator from Androscoggin, Senator Mason, moves the reading of items 3-2 through 3-4 be dispensed with, and these matters be referred to the Committee on Criminal Justice and Public Safety and sent down for concurrence. It's just the pleasure of the Senate. It's a vote. Chair recognizes the Senator from Hancock, Senator Langley.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move with the reading of items 3-5 be dispensed with, and this matter be referred to the Committee on Education and Cultural Affairs. Be sent down for concurrence.
The Senator from Hancock, Senator Langley, moves the reading of item 3-5 be dispensed with, and this matter be referred to the Committee on Education and Cultural Affairs, sent down for concurrence. Is this the pleasure of the Senate? It's a vote. Chair recognizes the Senator from Franklin, Senator Saviello.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move the reading of 3-6 be dispensed with, and this matter be referred to the Committee on Environmental and Natural Resources and sent down for concurrence.
The Senator from Franklin, Senator Saviello, moves the reading of item 3-6 be dispensed with. This matter be referred to the Committee on Environment and Natural Resources sent down for concurrence. This is the pleasure of the Senate. It's a vote. The Chair recognizes the Senator from Somerset, Senator Thomas.
Mr. President, I move the reading of item 3-7 be dispensed with, and this matter be referred to the Committee on State and Local Government and sent down for concurrence.
The Senator from Somerset, Senator Thomas, moves the reading of item 3-7 be dispensed with. This matter be referred to the Committee on State and Local Government and sent down for concurrence. This is the pleasure of the Senate. It's a vote. Chair recognizes the Senator from York, Senator Collins.
Mr. President, I move the reading of item 3-8 be dispensed with and this matter be referred to the Committee on Transportation and sent down for concurrence.
The Senator from York, Senator Collins, moves the reading of item 3-8 be dispensed with, this matter be referred to the Committee on Transportation and sent down for concurrence. It is the pleasure of the Senate. Is there objection to all matters thus acted upon being sent forthwith? Hearing none. So ordered. Orders.
Item 4-1, Dylan Toothaker of Ellsworth, a member of the Boy Scout Troop Number 86.
Chair understands the Senator from York. Senator Courtney moves the reading of item 4-1 be dispensed with and this joint order be passed and sent down for concurrence. Is this the pleasure of the Senate? Vote. Reports of committees.
There are none.
Bills and resolves reported by the Committee on Bills in second reading to be read by title only unless there is objection.
There are none.
Bills in their passage to be enacted and resolves in their final passage.
There are none.
Chair would inquire if the Senate is in possession of supplement number 1. Out of order and under suspension of the rules, is it the pleasure of the Senate to take up additional papers? The Chair calls your attention to supplement number 1.
Supplement 1, item 1-1, the following joint resolution. Whereas 14,000 children are born in Maine annually, and all parents want their children to grow to be happy, healthy, and well-educated. And whereas young children need positive relationships, rich learning opportunities, and safe environments. And whereas early experiences determine whether a child's brain architecture will provide a strong or weak foundation for all future learning, behavior, and health. And whereas the majority of the brain development essential for later academic success has occurred by the time a child is 5 years of age or older, and whereas positive experiences for children prior to entering school lead to better results than do remediation programs at a later age. And whereas research shows that high-quality early learning programs cut later crime and improve educational outcomes, and that children who attend high-quality early learning programs are less likely to commit crimes when they grow up. And whereas research also shows that children in high-quality early learning programs learn to get along better with others and follow directions, which may reduce problem behavior that can lead to youth and adult crime. And whereas high-quality early learning programs also show strong results for children in improving language and math skills, reducing grade retention, and increasing graduation rates, and this school success can lead graduates of high-quality early learning programs to have higher rates of employment and earning as adults. And whereas the Maine Children's Growth Council and the Children's Cabinet are dedicated to improving the efficacy of early childhood educational systems in Maine, now therefore be it resolved that we, the members of the 125th Legislature now assembled in the second regular session, on behalf of all the people we represent, take this opportunity to recognize that January 10th, 2012 is Infant and Toddler Awareness Day in the state, in order to acknowledge the importance of proper early childhood development for our infants and toddlers.
Chair recognizes the Senator from Cumberland, Senator Alphon.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, I stand here proudly as a member of the Children's Growth Council and to remind us all that we all have a stake in early childhood here in Maine. Sometimes the scale here in Augusta makes us all a little disconnected from the work in our districts. However, the story for early education is pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. Each day in the state of Maine, 38 births occur in the state of Maine. These are precious resources, these resources that enrich our families, our culture, and our state's future. Early education is key to our economic success and is linked to safe, welcoming, and it is important for a start of every child. What we must do better here and what we must fund better here is early childhood education. We know that Maine's economy is influenced by the health and the start that young children, no matter how old, start their careers. In closing, I urge all of you, regardless if you listen to anything I just said, I urge all of you to go to a early childhood center in your community, whether that's a Head Start program, whether that's a CDS, whether that's a nursery, and just spend time there for an hour and just watch the learning that's happening and watch our future, because these truly are the youngsters that will take our place, and the investment is critical. Thank you.
Is it now the pleasure of the Senate that this joint resolution be adopted in concurrence? It's a vote. Announcements.
Members should be aware that the poinsettias in the chamber, you see them in the windows, are now available to members free of charge. Please see my office for details.
Chair recognizes the senator from Penobscot, Senator Schneider.
Thank you, Mr. President. Request permission to speak off the record.
Without objection, the senator may proceed.
Thank you. First, Senator Farnham and I are going to jointly write a letter regarding the closure of the Hamden facility for sorting of mail, the U.S. mail, and we're going to have that ready, prepared for tomorrow, and if the Senate President would allow us to leave it in his office for signatures, for anybody else who would like to co-sign with us to object. We don't believe that this is going to save money at all. And in fact, I believe in the long term, in the long run, it will probably cost money. And it certainly will make it more difficult for businesses to function, because the mail will all have to be trucked down to Portland to be sorted. So we hope that you'll all join us collectively to oppose the closure, which will be a loss of additional jobs in our state. So that will be prepared for tomorrow morning. And then I would like to wish both Senators Alfond and David Medore a very happy birthday in this month of January. And to all the people who I missed their birthdays because we were not in, there are some treats in the post office for everybody. If they would like to have a little cake down in the post office, I offer you all that as a welcome back. So thank you, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from Penobscot, Senator Plowman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, last night Alabama won the national championship, and I feel compelled, off the record, Mr. President.
Without objection, the senator may proceed.
Thank you. To say, roll, tide, roll. And for any of those people of you who thought number 2 was a great place to be, well, that's good, because we're not there anymore. On the final note, as the senator who lives in Hamden, I'd be awfully glad to help you write that letter. Appreciate it. And if any of you have, the meeting is tomorrow night, for us to meet and try to save that facility. Thank you, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from Oxford, Senator Patrick.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Permission to speak off the record.
Without objection, the senator may proceed.
Thank you very much. I have 2 things. One thing I heard, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. And the second thing is somehow or other, I must have made a fatal mistake and left my top drawer unlocked, and there's a half ream of my stationery missing somewhere, so just in case if you get a message, it may not really be handwritten from me. Thank you.
Chair recognizes the senator from Androscoggin, Senator Craven.
Thank you, Mr. President. Permission to speak off the record.
Without objection, the senator may proceed.
The Franco Caucus will be meeting immediately after session in room 438. Thank you, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from Waldo, Senator Thibodeau.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request permission to speak off the record.
Without objection, the senator may proceed.
Each one of you today should have received in your mailbox a invitation from Fairpoint Communications, which is our largest incumbent telephone provider in the state of Maine, an invitation to attend a legislative reception at the Senator Inn this evening from 4 to 6 p.m., and I'm hoping each one of you will take that opportunity to stop by and meet the folks from Fairpoint.
Is there objection to all matters thus acted upon being sent forthwith? Hearing none. So ordered. The chair understands that the senator from York, Senator Courtney, moves the Senate stand adjourned until Wednesday, January 11th, 2012, at 10 o'clock in the morning. Is this the pleasure of the Senate?
there. Excellent. Yep. Hello.